Greetings, Inquisitor. Welcome to the Holocron. This is the kickoff for the Inquisitor Obticeo account, my third account. Here we see a quote, "Let's fill these 23 empty graves before the sun is set." For anybody who doesn't understand that, you got to fight 15 characters and potentially 8 ships in Grand Arena. So every time we fight in GAC, you got 23 empty graves to fill. That's the intention for this account. We're going to see how fast we can just climb right up through Grand Arena and get placement that's way over our galactic power and our time in the game. Alright, so why would I build a third account? I built my main account, made a bunch of mistakes. I built a second account. That's the Darth Loquitur account. A lot of people have been watching that for over a year now as I built that account up and brought characters online and had a lot of fun with it. There's been a lot of changes over the last year, and honestly, if I'm continuing to make beginner's guides with all these new characters that are available and the new gear, I feel like I have to actually play it. I played from level 1 last time, and I feel like this time we'll do a hyperdrive and try to get familiar with how we can build a hyperdrive into the best possible Grand Arena system in the shortest period of time. And in order to do that, I feel like I need to actually play it so that I can see all the little nuances of what materials we're short on, what characters we can get built up, how fleets work, all that stuff by experience. So I started this third account with that in mind. And also, I've talked a lot about guilds, and there's people that are skeptical of my rise through several good guilds with both of my accounts. And it doesn't take as much as people think to get into a really good guild. You just have to competently play the game. You have to commit to your tickets every day, participate in everything, and people have to see that you're building stuff that's in the guild's best interest. So we're going to build Watt mission Geos, and we're going to build Cam mission clones as the first big projects in the account, and we're going to see how that works. So when I started the Loquitur account over a year ago, I started that by publishing a plan, and honestly, there were some parts in the plan that worked out great. There were some parts in that plan that failed miserably, but we got to learn together, and I shared those lessons, and as we went along, the plan evolved. And, people got to watch me change some early decisions. For example, the biggest thing, I wanted to go for a Rebel fleet and a CLS very early, and I just couldn't fit the Rebel fleet or the CLS into the plan. So we've changed what works the best, and I'll be implementing a Geo fleet into Malevolence first as the first premium capital ship, basically from the things I learned last time around. So let's do the same thing. Now I'm going to plan out about 10 teams right at the start because I expect that we'll pretty quickly get to Bronzium with this effort. And then we'll need 5 teams on defense, 5 on offense, and 2 fleets. So we're going to plan 10 teams and 2 fleets right from the start. Start with the groundwork, or in this case, you guys, if anybody's watched my videos, even if you watch how I analyze my opponents in Grand Arena, I always start with ships. Honestly, when I look at a person's fleet, I can get a feeling for how good of a player it is better by looking at the fleet first than by looking at the characters. So that's where we're going to start. We're going to start with fleets. We're going to start with pilots, and the 10 initial teams that we build are going to be based around pilots as much as we can. Geos, yep, still good. Doesn't matter what anybody says about Geos. I find them to be very valuable. Their fleet is good. The characters are good. Everybody says Darth Vader can solo them in Grand Arena, but I don't care. If they have a Darth Vader and Darth Vader's beating my Geos, then I know exactly where you've used your Darth Vader, and that should be to my advantage on defense. And if people don't play it correctly, then they can lose that matchup, and once you've lost to Geos, it's really hard to get back in on them. All right, so Geos, to my opinion, are very much worth being built. The Galactic Republic fleet, again, if we're going for a guild-style build, it's going to be very much like the Senator path on my channel, which means Padme teams, clone teams, going for gas potentially, and all of that leads you to Galactic Republic. You're going to have Jedi Knight Anakin. You're going to want Ahsoka. Fives is definitely going to be a part of a clone team, so those ships just make sense. So we're going to do kind of a three-phase thing. We're going to do a starter fleet, and then we're going to work our way into Malevolence and Geos, and eventually build the Galactic Republic fleet to pass that up. So the first thing we're going to do, we're going to make a fleet of 3 ships, and it's going to be ships that we get with the Hyperdrive bundle, and that's just to take what we're already given, accelerate, and get that in better shape. And anybody else who does the Hyperdrive bundle who's not focusing on ships then will lose to the ships that we build up quickly here at the start. So Kylo Ren Unmasked, he's a good pilot, he's a good character, it's an easy farm. The Cantina has his character and his ship on the same node, which is fantastic. So we can get that ship up and running in better shape. Biggs is a good pilot. He's not a great character, but in with a Mon Mothma team, if you build him up as a pilot, he can do just fine in an early Mon Mothma team as a damage dealer. And both him and his ship come out of the Galactic War Store, so it's an easy farm that doesn't take up more of your energy in farming him every day. Fives, we're building the clone team. We're planning a Relic Fives very early anyway, so we might as well build this Umbran Starfighter and make a good ship out of it. Then we're going to build Home 1. Now, Ackbar, I think, is a very good capital ship at first. The character for Ackbar is just pretty awful. Like, there's not much that you can do to make good out of Ackbar. But, you know, it's an easy farm. You can grab him for squad currency, get him up to 7 stars. His gear's not too bad, so you can gear him up a little bit and make the capital ship good. We certainly won't take him past gear 12 if he even gets there. But getting him to gear 10 or 11 in order to get the passive fully unlocked on the capital ship shouldn't be too bad. And that'll put us with an initial fleet of Home 1, Fives, Biggs, and Kylo Ren Unmasked. Fives ship is fast. He can go first. He has an ability that puts on a target lock. That'll give Biggs taunt. So Fives and Biggs, Fives and the Silencer can hide out behind Biggs. He'll die pretty quickly, but that's what this team is meant to do. Biggs is going to take the sacrifice, and Fives and the Silencer are going to do the work of killing the other team. So that, again, it's not the most fantastic team that we can put down, but these are characters that we can build anyway, that we want as characters, that we want as fleet. So there you go. There's the initial fleet. I put a little bit of work into it, and you can see within the first week, I climbed all the way to rank 14. And I didn't even get these ships past 5 stars yet. I just put a little bit of gear and a little bit of effort into the pilots, and already we climbed to top 20 in fleet. And the last 2 days, in the second week, I've already been able to get top 5. So it's working as intended. The Geos will be brought online as soon as possible. The Geos don't come in the Hyperdrive, and it does take a while to level up the characters. Now, I know that the skills take a while and the ships take a while to farm, but what I guess I didn't remember or didn't think about, you don't have any training droids. So even if you wanted to level up these characters, the training droids are coming in very slowly, and leveling up those characters is going to take a while. So I think it's better probably 3 or 4 weeks of using this other fleet before the Geos get in shape to pass them up. Maybe even longer depending on things. But yeah, I think it's smarter to build that little initial fleet, and then we'll pass them up with the Geos. We will have to start building out the Endurance and Mace Windu and pay attention to that. If we go Malevolence first, which is the plan, we definitely have to have a 7-star Endurance for the gas event. And that means we'll have to have the Endurance up to 6 stars to do the event that comes up about once a month. And we will have to plan to refresh 2 or 3 times and push that ship up to 7 stars pretty quickly, because we're just not going to get the Negotiator in time for that gas event. So it's smarter to build the Endurance and go with Malevolence as our first capital ship. So that's not the only thing in fleet. The other decision that I've made right from the start, as soon as we hit go, we are going to farm all 5 of the pilotless ships. The BTL-B Y-Wing for Galactic Republic, the TIE Bomber for Empire, the Hyena Bomber and Vulture Droid for the Malevolence Fleet. And when we get to the fleet node with Greef Karga, we're going to farm him and the Y-Wing for the Rebel fleet. So the reason being, if we do rise through Grand Arena pretty quickly, we will get to a 4th fleet requirement pretty quickly. And those ships, because you don't have to also build the pilot, then become premium ships. You can they're pretty flexible. You can do stuff with them. And if you've got them at 7 stars and you didn't have to invest in the pilot, that leaves room for other pilots or other characters that you can build. So I'm going to go all in on building these pilotless ships right away. So Malevolence will take over as the main fleet with the Geos. Then the Galactic Republic will be under the Endurance for a while. And then when we get to the Malevolence at least to 6 stars, we'll start building a Negotiator, bring that online. We'll have an Empire fleet as our 3rd fleet. And then the ships that we're building right now with Silencer and Biggs, we can put some ships in there that use target lock. And we can have a 4th fleet that uses these ships that we're using right here at the start of the game. So they will, potentially never go to waste. There'll always be a place for them. So that's the plan, to expand to 4 fleets pretty quickly. So in terms of the teams, these 3 teams now, just to be clear, we're going to talk about 3 defensive teams, 3 offensive teams, and 4 flex teams. That's what I'm going to call my 10 teams. But on both the defense and offense, we're going to propose another team that's going to be a work in progress. So the 3 teams that I definitely plan to use right off the bat: Kylo Ren with the Hyperdrive First Order. Maybe we'll build a Sith Trooper to toughen up that team later. We have to see how the farming plan goes, because he will be a hard node farm to get. But you get enough First Order, you can just put Kylo Ren unmasked with the First Order that you get out of the Hyperdrive bundle, and it's a team. We're going to build those Geos and mainly use them as a defense early game. People have to have a counter for them or they just get stuck. Jedi under Bastila Shan. We're going to put Ahsoka, Qui-Gon, Yoda, and Anakin. It's going to be a team full of good Jedi. We are planning to build that Qui-Gon Jinn into the Omicron version of Qui-Gon Jinn. And then eventually when we get Kenobi farmed up, he's going to replace Bastila Shan in that team. And then we'll have a full team of Galactic Republic. And again, I think this is, if you commit your first Omicron to this and you build Jedi Knight Anakin to be a pretty big character, I think a lot of early accounts are going to struggle with this. It's going to look like a galactic legend to a lot of players trying to sort this team out. Or you'll have to have a good strategy for two-shotting it, come in and just annihilate the Qui-Gon and lose, and then come in with a second team against the rest of the Jedi and try to carry it from there. So it's a beatable team, but I think early game, if I can, and again, I don't know exactly how the Omicron farming is going to go early game, but once we get that, it's going to be fantastic in Grand Arena. The team that I want to build up over time, we do have Finn, Stick Ray, Resistance Trooper. We can unlock BB-8 and R2 at 5 stars instantly with the Hyperdrive bundle. So I would like to eventually build that into the Finn Poe team with the 2 Hero Finn and Hero Poe under Finn lead. And then we'll have that BB-8 and R2 in the team. And that Finn Poe team has been fantastic on defense for me on my main account. It has been shocking to me how many times that team has gotten holds or not just, lost battles, but there's even been times where that's the only team left standing and the opponent just quits playing and they get a full hold. They get never beaten. So I want that team in this account. It's going to take a while to build. So the 3 teams are my base teams, and then we're going to look at that resistance team as we go along. Same thing with the offensive teams. Mon Mothma, I think because of the stat sharing, is probably one of the most powerful early game teams you can build in terms of galactic power. If I can get this team up to about 70 to 80,000 galactic power with Biggs as a pilot, and Cassian as a pilot, Hoth Rebel Scout for turn meter gain, These characters are all shop characters, so we can get them up to 7 stars without using any kind of energy to farm them. And Mon Mothma herself will have to farm, but this team is definitely worth it. And this team can punch up so far. It's amazing. Now, I don't have Kyle Katarn in here. Assuming that Kyle Katarn becomes farmable, then certainly we're going to look to replace Cassian with the Kyle Katarn and start farming him at least up to 3 stars. But again, I think the very first Zeta that this account is going to have is going to be on Mon Mothma, and it's going to help us be very successful in Squad Arena to get more tokens to spend in the store, and it's going to help us have an offensive team that we can beat almost anything that the opponent's going to put on the field. I don't think it'll beat early Geos, but other than that, I think we'll be in pretty good shape. The team for Vader, Emperor Palpatine, Vader, Dooku, Palpatine, Maul, those are characters that we get out of the Hyperdrive bundle. So obviously the Vader needs to be brought to relic level as soon as we can, again, as the Geo counter for us so that we can beat the opponent's Geos early on. We're going to be working on the clones, so we'll go ahead and just use all the clones out of the Hyperdrive bundle. You get the Clone Sergeant and Cody, and the 3 main clones, Echo, Rex, and Fives, so we'll just make a team out of them. We'll add Arc Trooper later, and then Shaak Ti is on one of the final nodes for Fleet, and I anticipate that it's going to be 6 to 8 weeks before I can even unlock that node and start farming Shaak Ti. But we'll start the clone team just as an offensive team with, you know, a couple characters that we're investing in, and then we'll build it up into the right team later. Since we're building Geos, we will get Padme, but I'm committing Ahsoka, Anakin, and General Kenobi all to the Qui-Gon team, and Yoda too. So for Padme, we're going to have to look once we get the clone team fixed up. And again, this is one of the longer term teams. We got some stars by it saying it's not one of the initial teams. But she'll end up with something like Cody, Clone Sergeant, Wrecker, and then the Bad Batch version of Echo. And the reason we're going to do it this way, we're going to get Wrecker anyway because he comes off the same node as the BTL-B Y-Wing. So since we're farming that node, we might as well make use of the character shards that come out of there, build Wrecker as the tank. Bad Batch Echo is a very fast character, has some interesting utility, so we can, you know, 3-4 star him, just put him on the team, and then put a couple other characters in there. And this might be an offensive team, it might be a defensive team, we'll have to see what we can do. But it's just a way for us to use some of the Galactic Republic that we get out of the Hyperdrive, or that we're going to be farming anyway. The flex teams, and my definition of flex is simply I'm going to use them on defense or offense depending on what my opponent has. Phoenix, just throw mods on them, you know, just to make them a defensive team. I'm going to leave them at 5 stars. I don't feel like I need Thrawn right away or the Chimera right away, so I'm just going to park the Phoenix. I will put mods on them because they have good synergy, and as you get them out of the Hyperdrive bundle, they're already better than most other teams you can put together out of the Hyperdrive bundle. Nightsisters, same way. We'll throw mods on them just to make them a threat. They're high synergy, and to make them tick like we want, we may have to farm that zombie up. We'll do that later. For now, we'll just throw a few mods at them and just, you know, use them on defense or offense wherever we see fit. Imperial Troopers, and you may not think of the Imperial Troopers as a flex team. Usually it's pretty much offense only, but if you can get your troopers fast enough and have Geos as a defense and the Imperial Troopers as another defense, it's going to be real hard for most early game opponents to beat a decent trooper team if you have, you know, good troopers and fast enough mods that you get to go first. Then it's a real challenge. And you basically only have to relic one character in this team, relic the damage dealer or relic Plett to make him real fast, one or the other. But you can get a fast character and make that team hard on defense. So again, we'll try to build that as an option. And then the bounty hunters, again, we're going to have Kuiil anyway because he's on the same node as the TIE bomber. So while we farm the TIE Bomber, we'll be getting Kuiil. We can put him with whatever bounty hunters we get farmed up. We'll probably have Jango. We're going to get Grief because he's on the same node as a ship. So we'll have some bounty hunters. We'll work on Zam Wesell because of the Omicron for her eventually in the account as well. So the initial farming plan is super aggressive. So Chewpio, all we need to do is unlock him. 2 stars, unlock him. We don't have to keep farming him. The rest of these characters, we're going to farm from 0 to hero, all the way to 7. Mon Mothma, Range Trooper, Plett, Vulture Droid, Hyena, TIE, which is Kuiil also, BTL, which is Wrecker also. And that calculates out to be most of the energy for the day. And there's a little bit left over, so we'll get 2 or 3 farms a day on Jango as well. And start working on that Houndstooth. Eventually, when the Houndstooth gets unlocked, then we can see our way clear to maybe start trading off a little bit between something like Range Trooper and Bosk, so that we can start getting Bosk geared up and get that Hyena, the Houndstooth into service eventually. So the farming plan is initially 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 hard nodes. We'll finish up Chewpio quickly, and then we'll be farming 8 hard nodes, which is, it's pretty crazy to do. But remember, the situation that we're going to be in with this account, we're going to have the Hyperdrive bundle, a whole bunch of Gear 8 characters. Everything is going to need Carbantes, stun guns, stun cuffs. And going to farm those items just to get 1 level on 1 character is going to be less efficient than just to go ahead and dig in on these things that we need long term. A lot of ships with their single shard farms are going to take a really long time. Getting the troopers up and running takes a while. So yeah, we're gonna commit to a lot of hard farms right away, and we're going to try to let this new gear system fill us up on gear and level up the characters that we are prioritizing. See how it works. If it doesn't work, then you guys will see it. We'll make updates, and I'll let you know as soon as the plan doesn't work. But I think we're okay. I think the game will give us enough gear that we can really just focus on shards and bring those ships and characters online. The shop plan. In the Cantina, the first 3 characters we're going to grab out of there with Cantina currency. We're going to get 5s, then we're going to get Ahsoka, then we're going to get Qui-Gon Jinn, setting him up for the Omicron. It also gives us that good Jedi team under Bastila early. Her leadership with the extra protection up at the start of the battle is either tough to deal with on defense, or it's a good way to get maximum banners if you take them on offense. So we're going to commit to some Jedi. Also need to get all those Jedi to 7 stars because we also want to get Yoda, Grandmaster Yoda, to 7 stars. So we'll need 5 Jedi at 7 stars in order to get Yoda at 7 stars. In the guild store, we'll work on Stark a little bit, clones a little bit, and gear. So that shop is going to be a mix of buying the right gear. We don't need Stark to come online super fast. We'll be able to unlock him and start working on his gear, and that's fine. He doesn't have to be at 7 stars right away. Same thing with the clones. We're going to buy what clones we can out of there. I think Rex and Echo both show up in that shop, so we'll use that currency wisely between characters and gears, but we're not going to be in a rush to get 7 stars on everything. We're going to save up a bank of the currency, buy gear when we need it, especially Carbantes, because that's going to really be the limiting factor on all this, and keep that train going. In squad, we're going to do Ackbar first, of course, for home 1. We need him at 7 stars. We're going to do Mace, again, for endurance. We're going to do Tarkin. We may or may not build the Executrix up very much, but there's no reason not to go ahead and grab Tarkin out of the squad store. We're going to have the currency anyway, and we can commit it over there. Also want to build Newt. He's a good scoundrel, helps with a lot of things in the game, so we'll grab him. And then from there, we'll see. We'll figure out the plan from there. That's, weeks worth of buying out of that shop. Galactic War Store. I'm going to unlock Poggle right away, just commit like the initial currency that we get with the Hyperdrive bundle. I'm going to get Poggle unlocked so I can start leveling him, gearing him, getting him ready for Geos. Then we're going to basically flip over to Biggs in the X-Wing and just get Biggs to 7 stars, get his X-Wing to 7 stars, and then start working on the Geo ships. In Fleet Arena, we're going to save up currency. We're going to buy that Grievous. We're going to buy the Umbran Starfighter when we see it. And just like with the other shops, we're not going to be in a rush to get Sunfac and the other Geos up and running and deplete all of our currency. We're going to keep some of that in the bank so that we can always buy Grievous every time he shows up. We can always buy the Umbran Starfighter every time it shows up. And then when we're, let's say, over 2,000 currency, we'll use that on Geos and such. The guild event, obviously the Get To is going straight to Malevolence. That's all I'm going to use it for until we get the Malevolence. Then we'll use it on Negotiator, and just all the Get To goes to the ships. And the Get One currency, of course, if we're going into a gas build relatively early in this account, then we just have to save all of our Get One for gas. There's really no other option. In the Shard Shop, we're going to farm the Kylo Ren Unmasked to 7 stars. We're also going to farm the TIE Silencer to 7 stars. Since the TIE Silencer is a single shard drop ship, we'll get a lot of shards from Kylo Ren Unmasked that are overflow after he gets to 7 stars. So that'll feed the Shard Shop. We'll start using that to try to buy relic materials, and we'll try to make that Kylo Ren Unmasked the first relic in the account. Really get that ship cranked up. And again, I believe that if you put a Relic 5 Kylo Ren Unmasked on defense, most people at a low level just aren't going to have something that deals with it. You have to have Thrawn to fracture and hold him in place. You have to have a healing immunity on him to whittle him down. Or you have to have enough damage to kill him. And that's the thing. I mean, a lot of people just aren't going to have characters that have enough damage to chunk their way through him. So he's a monster in the early game as a defender. So we're going to go ahead and commit and make that our first relic. All right, the fleet farm plan. We're certainly going to farm Anakin's ETA, and we're going to farm Gear 13 materials. The Rebel Y-Wing is in the 4th sector, and it takes a while to get through the hard nodes on Sector 4. And I think most people know that 5E on normal 5E is where fleets stop, and then it takes another month to get past that. I think with building a Relic Kylo early, and if I commit enough resources to Biggs, I may be able to get past that 5E node with that fleet before I bring the Geos online. But anyway, we'll keep pushing the fleets as hard as we can because we want to unlock all the way to 5, all the way to the Shaak T node, and be able to start farming Shaak T for those clones as soon as we can. But early on, it's pretty much just going to be Anakin and the Gear 13 materials. There's a temptation then to farm Sunfac because he does have a ship node that you can farm. The Umbran Starfighter, I think, is on a node. But I'm really not going to farm those nodes. I'm going to use the currency in the fleet store to buy the Umbran Starfighter, for example, and build that up a little more slowly. And commit more of that fleet energy just to the relic materials that we need for Gear 13. All right, so then the long-term plan with this account is the stabilization. So those teams we talked about up front, those will be like the 10 stabilizing teams that we're going to build. We're going to invest in Geos until they're ready to do the Watt mission. We're going to do some initial relics. I think Crew will be the first. I think Geo Spy or Vader. Those two will be the second and third most likely. And then I said Jedi Knight Anakin for the Padme team, but more likely it's going to be Jedi Knight Anakin for the Qui-Gon team. And again, the idea is if I put a Relic 5 Anakin on a Qui-Gon team with a bunch of junky Jedi on defense, if you kill one of the other Jedi, the JKA is going to go crazy. So you have to have a team that can get that all under control. And I think that's going to be hard for a lot of early game players. So I think that team's just going to hold everything every time. Now, the other side of the equation, I have to start looking myself, once we get this initial plan going, I'm going to have to look very carefully at what we're going to build to counter the Qui-Gon team, because just like we're building it, we can expect other people to build it, and once we rise to our level in Grand Arena where we're meeting our match, then we're going to have to beat the Qui-Gon team as well. So it bears some thinking, and we'll work through that. So after the initial relics, we're going to be building the clones, and we're going to take these clones all the way up to relic level for Ki-Adi-Mundi mission. And this may be a project of 6 months, getting all these characters up and running to this level. And I don't know, I honestly don't know if we can farm good enough mods that fast where we'll have the clones at the appropriate relic level and also have good enough mods on the clones to actually be able to hold the mission. So that it's a two-part challenge. The first is building the clones, and the second is whether or not we can actually get the mods going. From there, we'll go into gas, and then we'll go in. By the time we're working on gas, we should be looking at a pretty good guild, upwards of 250 to 300 million galactic power guild that we should be able to get into with this initial build. And then while we're working on gas, we can go into JMK, start earning those Relic 8 materials that we need, and go into the JMK. After JMK, I think, based on how Grand Arena feels right now, I think from JMK, we have to circle back around and go straight into the Executor. And we're going to have to figure out how to get that Razor Crest and that Mando team and get all that going, because I think the very best thing that we can do for this account would be gas, JMK, and then Executor right away to hammer home that fleet advantage. All right, that's the plan. That's going to wrap up the this holocron, which is only to kind of define the plan, what I'm looking at with the account, what I'm planning to do. And we're going to do separate videos, and we'll show the initial play on the account, and we'll show the weekly updates going forward. But this establishes, the day zero plan. Thank you all for watching. Please hit the like button. Subscribe if you haven't done that already. You can choose to use the notification or not. If you don't use the notification, subscribing doesn't even bug you. It doesn't do anything. So it just helps me. It helps the channel. Leave a comment down below. We're trying to get more subscribers. The more comments you put, the more people get to see this video in their options to select. So yeah, help me out. Just throw any kind of comment down there to help drive the YouTube algorithm. And let's get some attention on this new gameplay and get more new people over here so they can learn how to build a good account and get interested in the game and stay with us. Thank you all for watching. Appreciate each and every one of you. And I will see you in the next holocron.